Right now, on to the point.
They were sentenced to life without parole. That should be the end of the story.
Outrage over a bill that could give violent offenders a chance at parole. Why victims are for and against it. President Trump's tariffs plan will continue for now, even after California won its lawsuit yesterday. Governor Newsom now eyeing the Supreme Court. In the race for California's next governor, 3 of the top 7 Democratic candidates tell to the point what they want to change in the state. And tonight, in our Champions of Hope,
Najee would say, keep going. Don't stop.
the mother keeping her son's legacy alive while trying to stop gun violence.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. A tweet from the state minority leader this morning had us really talking in our morning meeting, actually. He warned a bill would, quote, open the prison gates for over 1,600 cold-blooded killers. ABC's 10's Becca Hobbecker joins us in studio with what all this really means. Becca?
Yeah, Leader Jones is talking about a bill that would allow most people convicted of a violent crime when they were 25 or younger and sentenced to life in prison without chance at parole to get a parole hearing, but only after serving 25 years. And in my reporting today, I learned there are crime victims not only against this bill, but also in favor of it.
California Democrats are about to pass SB 672 to open the prison gates for over 1,600 cold-blooded killers. Those are the words of State Senate Minority Leader Brian Jones of San Diego. We spoke while he was traveling back to his district Thursday after wrapping a Senate floor session.
They were sentenced to life without parole. That should be the end of the story.
Senate Bill 672, called the Youth Rehabilitation and Opportunity Act, would allow most people convicted of a violent crime when they were 25 or younger and sentenced to life in prison without chance at parole to get a parole hearing after serving 25 years. Current law allows this only for people who committed their crime as a minor.
True public safety and a strong criminal justice system must also recognize the potential for rehabilitation and change.
Advocates say this bill would not guarantee someone is paroled. That's still up to the parole board and governor. Critics say this is a slap in the face to the victims of violent crimes and their family members, like Lauren Pettigrew with the group United Crime Victims. Her brother David was murdered in 2007. His 3 killers, sentenced to life without possibility of parole, would be eligible for a parole hearing in the early 2030s if this bill passes.
It's really rewriting history, too, for victims like me who were told decades ago that these people would never get out of jail. The idea of spending the rest of my life going to parole hearings for 3 separate people, once they're eligible for parole, that won't end.
But not all victims are opposed. Testifying last month in favor of the bill was Sonia Spencer, whose baby girl was killed in 1995 during a home invasion. All 6 men involved were sentenced to life without possibility of parole.
Several years I wrote to them, expressing my pain, my anger, and the darkness that was my new normal. But only one responded with an apology for the harm that he caused. Kenyon Pitts and I corresponded over the years, and coming to know Mr. Pitts changed my perspective of life without the possibility of parole sentences. That is why I support SB 672. Those who have done the work have a chance at parole. Those who have not will not be found eligible.
As for Leader Jones' post on X, he's referencing an independent analysis of the bill, which found a little over 1,600 California prison inmates could be newly eligible for a parole hearing if SB 672 passes.
This bill excludes people convicted of certain offenses, such as a mass shooting at a school or church or murdering a law enforcement officer. The bill is expected to be heard again on the Senate floor as soon as Monday. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you. California's legal battle against President Donald Trump's tariff plans continue tonight after an appeals court reversed yesterday's court ruling blocking most tariffs.
No one is naive. This will ultimately end up in the United States Supreme Court, and that's why we remain supremely vigilant.
In a video posted online, Governor Gavin Newsom added that California was the first to sue over Trump's tariff plan and called it toxic. Yesterday, the 3 judges on a panel said the president does not have the authority to use emergency powers to issue tariffs. Today, Peter Navarro, a counselor to the president, had this to say.
The tariffs remain in place. The court told us, they didn't all but tell us, they told us, go do it another way. So you can assume that even if we lose, we will do it another way.
The Trump administration plans to continue trade talks with China, the European Union, and other trading partners. In the fight against bird flu, the Trump administration canceled more than $760 million in funding to Moderna to develop a vaccine for humans. Moderna says Health and Human Services withdrew funds that were already awarded. The change comes as Moderna had just announced positive results from an early trial of the vaccine. And tonight, in Your Voice, Your Vote. The fight for California's governor is drawing a crowded and very competitive field. While the election is still more than a year away, many Democrats are already campaigning for the job. And this weekend, they'll be convening in Anaheim at the California Democratic Convention. We recently sat down with 3 of the top 7 candidates to hear what they wanted to see change in the state. Born and raised in Sacramento, Javier Becerra is the son of working-class parents. He served as California's Attorney General, spent 12 terms representing the state in Congress, and made history as the first Latino to lead the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I am running to be governor of our great state of California.
Now, as he eyes the governor's office, Becerra says California is at a crossroads, and he's ready to build, protect, and deliver for the state he's always called home. If you are elected governor, what would be your first 3 top priorities, and how would you plan to address them?
Well, housing has to be one of those top priorities. I do believe that if we can solve this housing crunch that we're in, people will have that peace of mind that they need. Second, I do think we have to deal with energy. We have to figure out how we're going to be able to provide the energy that we all need. We want to continue to have it be as clean energy as possible, but we also want to make sure that we don't price those working class families out of the ability to buy a home. And then finally, I think we have to get back to the business of building, whether it's building better health care or building better educational programming. We have to do the things that people expect to have in front of them so they can succeed in life and let their kids then advance when they're ready to go on to become productive Americans.
Former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa is also a former labor leader and led the California State Assembly. After an unsuccessful bid for governor in 2018, he's making another run in 2026.
I know we can do big things for California because I've done them before.
Reintroducing himself to voters, calling himself a proven problem solver who gets things done and works across the aisle.
Job number 1 is to balance a budget, to make sure that we're not spending more than we have. Job number 2 is to build infrastructure, to build the housing, the energy infrastructure. The best way not to put it on the backs of the middle class and working people is to have an all-of-the-above strategy. We're going to have gasoline-powered cars, and we're going to use gasoline and oil for a long time. We're not going to be done by 2035. So let's acknowledge that. Focus on homelessness and focus on safety. I've always said, whether you're mayor or governor, balancing the budget, safety, protecting your citizens, residents, that's the number 1 job of a governor.
The daughter of Chinese immigrants, Betty Yee got her start managing her family's dry cleaning business finances at just 8 years old. In her nearly 40 years of public service, she's managed California's finances as state controller and serving terms on the State Board of Equalization.
I'm running for governor.
Now, as vice chair of the California Democratic Party, she's running for governor with a focus on accountability, affordability, and prosperity.
My 3 main issues really are in the affordability bucket, if you will. Housing, healthcare, and electricity bills. Our electricity bills keep increasing, and yet people really are feeling it in their pocketbook. And I do want to mention the climate crisis because, as there's no part of the state that is spared from the effects of climate change now. Whether it's the wildfires we've just experienced in Southern California, even other parts of the state. The next governor is going to have to be adept at looking at both solving issues in the short term as well as the long term. We need to really assume that we have finite resources because what we have to work with today, may not be there tomorrow. Or may be constrained, tomorrow. And a good example of that is just what we're bracing ourselves for with respect to federal funding cuts.
The top 7 Democratic candidates for governor will be at the Democratic Convention in Anaheim this weekend. I will also be there covering it all. You can look for our coverage right here on ABC 10, and you can also stream our conversations with Republican candidates for governor right now on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Coming up onto the point, jewelry heist, the concern tonight in California as thieves get more creative.
The hottest temperatures we've had so far this year arrive tomorrow. We are going to be near 105 degrees, record heat. I'll time it out after the break.
And in our Champions of Hope, how one local mother is keeping her son's legacy alive. We are tracking a weather impact alert as temperatures are expected to hit at least 100 degrees tomorrow. You can find a list of cooling centers on our website at abc10.com. Let's get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef for the latest on the forecast so we can all buckle in and be prepared here.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about this for more than a week now. Last week, we were kind of highlighting the potential for some record temperatures. And then all of this week, we've had that weather impact alert for the heat that now is just around the corner. Today was a hot day. In fact, tied for the hottest we've been so far this year in Sacramento, when we're still at 94 degrees in Sacramento, 91 Stockton, 89 Modesto, 93 up in Colusa. Getting a bit of a delta breeze developing at this point, about 15 miles per hour across the valley and delta. A little bit stronger winds are expected over the next hour or so before it does taper a little bit. Low 80s by 9 o'clock, mid 70s by 11 o'clock tonight, and we're only going to be upper 50s, low 60s tomorrow. So not nearly as cool as we've been the last few mornings. A warmer start to Friday is kind of the bellwether that Friday afternoon is going to be much warmer than we're used to. 104 degrees is my forecast high tomorrow. 20 degrees warmer than normal for the time of year. And the record high temperature for tomorrow is 100 degrees. We should beat that record by at least 3 or 4 degrees tomorrow. Triple digits near 105 across the valley, 104 in Oroville, 103 Marysville, 107 Colusa, 103 in Roseville, 104 in Sacramento, 104 Stockton, Manteca, and Tracy, 103 in Modesto, mid to upper 90s in the foothills, mid 80s in the high country. It is going to be hot tomorrow. In fact, it'll likely be the hottest day since July 23rd of last year when we were 107 degrees. Weather impact alert, I think for fairly obvious reasons, the valley heat near 105 degrees. Important to practice heat safety, water, shade, AC is even better than shade, and sunscreen. These temperatures affect everyone, not just those sensitive to heat. And when I say everyone, that includes the furry friends as well. When it's 105 degrees outside, concrete can be 155 degrees. So walk your dogs on the grass tomorrow. Saturday, closer to 101, 102 in the valley. Still going to be very hot, but then we do see cooler temperatures by the time we get to the second half of the weekend and the start of next week. We've got more after the break.
Welcome back in. Jewelry heists in California are starting to look more like Ocean's 11. Video shows thieves cutting a hole through the wall at a Southern California jeweler. It happened multiple times. Experts say while crimes against jewelers are falling, losses are up. The rising price of gold is motivating more professional criminals. And major fentanyl busts were announced today. Law enforcement gathered in Sacramento to discuss 2 new initiatives to crack down on these drugs. That includes a statewide fentanyl murder registry modeled after the sex offender registry and an overdose alert system to notify authorities in real time if someone is selling deadly drugs. We know that news stories are filled with challenges and hardships, but incredible things are happening every single day. Tonight in our Champions of Hope, we want to introduce you to Najee Grimes, a beloved local football coach who left a lasting mark on his community. And today, the Grimes family is building on his legacy, launching a foundation inspiring change.
He's just a remarkable person.
Gregory Najee Grimes, an Indicrum High School football star who went on to graduate from Boise State as an academic All-American.
He just had so much exuberance, so much pride.
Najee, a D1 athlete just like his father Gregory, would continue in his father's footsteps after college, serving the community.
Indicrum, his alma mater, where he worked with special education children, and also he coached the D-line. So that was just great chapters in his life.
Also becoming a father himself. In July of 2022, Najee was closing on a new home for his family and enjoying life with his friends.
The kids that he bonded with from like age 4, they were his lifelong friends. They developed their relationship. They played football together. They did everything. They also were the ones who were pallbearers. at his funeral.
A 4th of July weekend celebration turned into a mother's worst nightmare.
I received a call. It was from his best friend calling to say that something horrible had happened, to please get to the hospital.
Najee was shot outside of a Sacramento nightclub, his family and friends praying. Najee was revived twice during surgery. Then the news came.
Suddenly, she said, and he died. And I'm telling you, I absolutely lost it. That part is still a blackout for me. I ended up outside of the hospital screaming, and I screamed so much, so loud, Najee, 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 till I blew out my vocal cords.
Najee, Deborah's only son, was just 31 years old. Just 1 month after Najee's funeral, Deborah and her husband co-founded the Greg Najee Grimes 212 Anchor Foundation. 212, the boiling point of water.
One of the campaigns that Coach Peterson had at Boise was 212. So everybody knew that meant to turn up. That's how he lived his life.
The foundation holds workshops on life-saving tools in the event of an emergency, raises awareness on gun violence, and provides scholarships to young athletes.
Small as a Giant scholarship. And that was one of the tattoos that Najee had. That is a person who deserves notoriety, however they remain humble. And that's how Najee navigated.
The foundation works with law enforcement, the state legislature, and city council.
We're gifting the city every chance that we get. We didn't want to come in as a nonprofit with our hands out. We wanted to come in with our hands full.
Putting forward Najee's law, proposing mandatory exterior cameras and metal detectors for downtown and midtown clubs and bars. His son Ace and his mom Denise lead Imagine That.
Ace is actually the face of Imagine That.
Helping children who have experienced trauma or have lost someone by granting sports wishes like seeing a Kings game.
Just know that Ace is very serious about his role in Imagine That.
The family's journey hasn't come without hardships. During our interview, Deborah sharing a personal struggle.
Because I just thought about something. I'm gonna have to talk about it. Okay. I am now experiencing psychoneuroimmunology. And that's where your physical, your neurological system, your grief, all of that collides. And it can create a paralysis. I'm on a walker now, and I have been for a few months now. There's collateral damage when it comes to gun violence.
Najee's foundation growing into a reminder that even in loss, there is power in legacy.
I could hear Najee say to me, Mom, get up. Just get up. And that's when I said, oh, okay, and got busy. So now Najee would say, keep going. Don't stop. You can do it.
And first, I want to say thank you so much to the Grimes family for sharing your story and trusting us with it. I deeply appreciate it. The foundation will be participating in the National Gun Violence Awareness Month, which is this June. June 6th at the Guild Theater, they will be hosting a watch party for the new film, Put the Guns Down. And then on June 21st is the Lifesavers Party at the North Natomas Community Center to honor those lost to gun violence. We're back after this break. ABC 10 is celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and tomorrow right here on To The Point at 6:30, we are dedicating our entire show to tell stories about our local AA-NHPI community's resilience and achievements. So don't miss our special right here tomorrow at 6:30 on To The Point. And as always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think me and the team should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And I know we cover a lot of great stories here, a lot to catch up on, so do not forget you can always download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app straight to your TV for free.